Remember, all episodes, Memphis in May. Go to STSPOD.club. Be there. All right, we're live from 304 Studios in Jonesboro, Arkansas. This is an STSPOD.club production. I'm BT, and right over there, see, what do we got here? Uncle Phil at Nine Fingers, and I also know you as Idlebane. Uncle Phil, Idlebane. Been knowing you for a long time. When I got ready for this interview, it's weird that I've never had you on the show. We're like 700 episodes. And I was trying to think, when did we first meet? This is my first question. So it's all about me tonight. So when did we first meet?
The first time I remember seeing you, you were still managing BT Express and stuff. I believe it was it's either the Piggott Armory or the Rector Armory. And you were there, and we did our stuff. We said hellos, and then I think we did a couple shows. It may have been Ron Spence we were working for, which, I mean, you know how that works. But
I can't remember. Rector, yeah, it may have been. Was Dakota on the show and Psycho and
very possible.
Yes, it was her hometown, and it was a Rector. That's Dakota. If you don't know and not from the area, was a huge, tall girl that man, she got over, and then I feuded with her. I hit her. She's the girl I hit with the clipboard, and she bladed, and the whole place. I got silent heat. It was just like I went, oh shit, I did something wrong. I was like, I'm gonna have one of those stories where I can't get to the dressing room kind of thing. We didn't actually have that, but they were just in shock when she got up and she was bleeding. Even the boys, because I think it was me, her, and two other people that knew she was going to do that. So let's start. You're at Memphis Wrestling now, and we're here for all episodes or Memphis in May. If you do our Patreon, we always do extra stuff on Patreon. Go to stspod.club in the right-hand corner, or as we say in the South, counter. In the right-hand counter, go over there and join the Patreon. There will be a little extra here on today's show with I keep wanting to call you Idol with Uncle Phil. And then we're giving away a huge prize package. So if you actually are part of Patreon, we'll give it away. If you up your tier, I'll give you 2 chances. If you get a friend to join, I'll give you 2 chances, them 2 chances. I want to give away this stuff, so remember to do that. But I want to start after I got, how did we meet? That sounded really gay when I said it like that. So let's start when you first started as a wrestling fan. When did you start? I mean, Little Phil, what was Little Phil watching?
Oh, man, I grew up. Okay, my first memories of wrestling, my dad was working out in the oil fields in Elk City, Oklahoma. This is probably 82, 83. I was 2-ish. I was in there watching. I was at home watching Wizard of Oz on the television. Dad comes in, says, no, we're not watching that. And I can't remember if it was Mid-South or NWA, but he turned it over to wrestling. And that moment, I was so mad at him because I was watching the Wizard of Oz and it was about to turn color. But from then on out, if there was wrestling on TV, you could not get me away from it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a young age. What do you remember about because you're younger than me, so what was who were the people you were watching? Was it Memphis Wrestling? No, it wasn't. You said you're in Oklahoma. So I've been to Oklahoma once, and it was because I made a mistake while I was in Arkansas. So a driving mistake. But who was you watching?
Again, at that point, I don't remember if it was NWA. I grew up loving NWA and Flair and Crockett and all that good stuff. But since we were in Oklahoma, it could have been Mid-South with Bill Watts stuff too, but I'm just not sure. I just remember there was wrestling and they were cutting a promo and they both had studios. So,
right. There was a promotion down there before Bill Watts. It was Leroy McGurk or something like that. I seen some stuff on him Actually, Jim Ross talking about him on the podcast. So I looked up his promotion, and his promotion looks a lot like Mid South. So it could have been Mid South. So when you decided, you said Flair and everything, so you started being NWA fan. Did you do like most of us did? You did watch WWE, or did you do like some of the people that just stuck with the NWA and didn't watch any WWE?
No, man, I was a Hulkamaniac like everybody else that grew up in the 80s. I was born in the end of 80s, so I was 5 or 6 years old whenever Hulk was getting popular, and man, I was behind him the whole way. Always ended up being more of a Savage fan, but Hulk was the man too. So, but I watched everything, man. If it was Memphis, if I could find wrestling on television, I was trying to watch it. I didn't do tape trading like you did, but everywhere else, I was trying to find it. So
I wondered about that because there's a period. There is some people that, some people didn't even know about tape trading, and some people that's all we did was tape trading. But then after like the internet started becoming popular, the tape trading started actually going the other way. It's all about technology, man. Wrestling business changes because of technology, and everything else does too. But who would ever think that I could watch Japanese wrestling? Like they had a show this morning at 7:00, and I was watching it live. So I mean, it's just crazy. I had to wait 6 weeks to get current New Japan and All Japan Wrestling. Never. And so you kind of grew up watching wrestling on television, but you was there when the big internet boom started, right?
I was, yeah.
And was you a message board guy? I want to go to one side, or what did you do on that?
I was a bagpipe report, so I got daily emails on stuff.
Oh, yes, I remember that. I did too. I got emails on my Juno email address. So
I think I had a Juno email address too, actually. And then my school. So at my school, I was getting this bagpipe report every day, and I had like 8 different people, and Daily Dale was one of them. He can confirm this if you ever interview him. But I had to, as soon as I got it, I had it set up so it forwarded out to like 8 different people. And then I had 2 of them set up so they could forward it out to other people. So I had a little collection going out at the school whenever, 10th, 11th grade, whenever mid-90s.
I can't. I've never thought about it. That's my memory sucks, and it's just one of those things where I don't put stuff in order most of the time. I kind of do, but I mean, really can't really put stuff in order. But I remember that. What do you ever remember? Who was the guy that sent that?
Man, if I saw his name, I could think of it. He did some other stuff after that, and I really want to say he was part of Wrestling Inc. a little bit after Bagpipe.
Might have been.
But I don't really know where he went after.
Well, see, so I started with kayfabe sheets. So in 86, I'd say 86, 85, 86, I started kayfabe sheets. And then I went from kayfabe sheets to email. They were sending me email every day. That's the first time I've thought about that in years, but they did. I had a couple of others that I did that too. But I never got into the American Online or any of that because we always had a shitty computer. So
yeah, our school whenever I was growing up had a good email address, but it wasn't AOL, so we stayed away from it and used what we could out in the free world,
Right. And I remember hitting the message boards and finding, at one point, I remember them doing some kind of report about the internet and the change it was. We could watch TV shows the next day on the internet. And I was like, sure, we will be able to, because I was, it was taking me, 11 minutes to get a movie picture downloaded, So I was like, yeah, this shit ain't never going to happen. But you started out with that. So what I want to know at this point, you're on the internet, you're getting your report, and that bagpipe was kind of smart. That was a smart. Yeah. They told you everything that was going on inside and outside the ring. When do you think you become not really learning the psychology or any of that? We might talk about that here in a minute. But when did you become smart to the business that you knew something was going on? You started learning about how it was put together.
So my stepdad, my pops, wrestled in the area for years and years before me. He wrestled as Dr. Love. His name's Doug Cousins. He started whenever him and my mom got together. I was about 14. So he started.
Yeah.
So I got started taking to shows at 14, 15 years old, and rang the bell and took gear back to the locker room and played music and announced and everything but be a ref and take bumps. And, I did that for a couple of years. And then Pops, he introduced me to the guy that trained me was Grizzly Rick Gibson. And, and I basically went with him every weekend for 2 years and set up rings and sold merch and did security and refed and ran messages and everything but take bumps. And I took a couple of those even as a 16, 17-year-old kid, but not too many. But
you must have been that, because you're a big guy. So you must have been that 14-year-old kid, 15-year-old kids getting this big growth spurt. And they're wanting to do something with you by then, right?
Well, my growth spurt didn't really start until after high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a year after, I graduated high school at 6'1" or 6'2", but then after my senior year, that summer, I sprouted up 3 more inches, and I started wrestling in February of my senior year. So
okay. Yeah, so you needed to wrestle to grow, huh?
I guess so. But then I got up to damn near 6'5", and then I leaned down a little bit, and that helped because I was way out of shape whenever I was in high school, and then started learning, started trying to do this stuff.
Now, this guy that trained you, I can't remember him, but he's from this area too. Was he you was riding with him and everything, but you wasn't being able to wrestle. But was it one of those nights where they needed somebody and you went ahead and jumped in and was able to work? Were you training all the time, not just training about the business, which you do on those car rides, but was you training in the ring all the time during this 2 years?
Yeah, because they had a little short-lived thing, and my first match was supposed to be the last one. It was, I think, Main Event Championship Wrestling or something that was on KIT here. I think it was right after Rampage went off. They got the air slot, but they were doing that, so we were setting up early and always there. We always had to do ring rent, so we was always there 4 hours before the show. So yeah, we were in there taking bumps and trying to figure out how to do this stuff, all the time.
Right. That's and I trained for a little bit and wrestled, and I sucked as a wrestler. So I was smart enough, and I think I said that on the Sleazy podcast. I was smart enough to say, you suck and don't do that anymore. But I had a fun time as a manager. So we're training. We're finally getting to work. And you worked in this area, just in this area, in the kind of Arkansas area.
Yeah.
Pretty much for years, didn't you?
Yeah. See, nowadays, it's been like this for 10, 15 years now, but nowadays everybody has a permanent building. Like MACW, ASWF, we're in Tuckerman. That's
right.
Time we have a show over there. Back in those days, and this was 2 or 3 different feds, like Spence was there and Luscious Leonard had his own deal, and everybody else had their own deal.
God, I hadn't heard that name in years.
Right. But so 1 week would be Walnut Ridge, 1 week would be Marmaduke, one Piggott, Rector, Batesville. We were somewhere every night, and a lot of nights a lot of weekends it was 2 or 3 shows a weekend. And basically I left Friday afternoon after school, and I got home Sunday at time to go to bed type stuff. And here we go. Let's do it again next weekend. And
I tried to estimate one time. I think in 5 years I came very close to 100 dates a year. I think I did, which I think is pretty darn good in this area. The first 9 months we did over 100 dates, but I think I would say 500 would be it. But people don't realize we could work 2 to 3 times a weekend during that time, because there was always we did Malden for God, I can't think of that dude's name. I'll think of it after we get through talking. But we did Malden. We did Malden. We always did Malden where he would do sometimes on a Saturday. I would be the first match or something, and with my team, and then we would head out and we would be semi-main on the other show. So we was doing 2 shows. And that wasn't a lot compared to the stars who say they worked every day. And you just talk about Mid-South. You worked every freaking day in Mid-South. But we all had shoot jobs, so it wasn't a professional. We weren't professional wrestlers, I don't guess. But we did get work. Did you because I remember seeing you and telling you things soon as I started talking to you on a regular basis. And you're not the only person I did this to, but there's not a lot. I've always, if I see somebody that has potential, then I'm always on your ass about something. Not in a mean way, but I'm like, do this, do that, do this. You can still do this, but you look good. You have blah blah blah. Did you have somebody already doing that for you? And before I came along, no. Did you have people that were helping you and saying, "Oh, you fucked that up," or "You did okay with that," or was there real people? Because let me say something. MCW, when LaFonts was running it, they had, and I'm not telling anyone they don't know, they had some good wrestlers, but then they had some really bad wrestlers. But nobody was telling them that they were they were bad and they couldn't entertain or do anything right. So,
no, my first couple of years, I was one of those guys right there. Just I was pretty well trash, and then when we went to what was it, WFAC in Newport, I think that was when I started to. It was Jim Chitty, enforcer. He was like, "You need to get better, or you need to go away." And I said, "Okay." And almost immediately I improved, and then I was with some guys that can fucking work. I mean, I'm sorry, cussing. But,
no, we can cuss. Yeah, it's not for the kiddos.
Cool. But I mean, I had the Scott Furies and the Tommy Dramas, and some of those guys that were better.
They got it. They started understanding it quicker than y'all did. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. That was.
We got to work those guys, and Freezer was still there and working and stuff like that. And there's some other guys like that were there, and that place was just a better environment to learn for me than what I was in before. And I'm not putting blame on anybody,
No, I understand.
But yeah, WFAC was a lot of fun. We all learned a lot. I mean, that's where like the Kid Crazies and the Ray Rays and the Cody Onlys and the LSD gimmick in general all started there. The Uncle Filthies, CJ Wakes, all that stuff. All Morgan Williams and or Matt Williams all got their starts there, and that's how we all learned. And I think we all got better off each other just going through the motions for fucking 4 years. And
you got to think of that crew and how. And I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I'll tell you the truth, but think about that crew and how many good workers came out of it. They really did. They're still good workers. They understand the business. They all know you all guys knows how to get over as a heel, as a babyface. It's just little things not to do, things to do. The whole crew there. Now there's a few of them from that crew that spend time in jail for doing things they shouldn't do. But they didn't learn. So they, that was one of there's a couple of them bad seats in that time period that I seen us talking about that the other day. But I thought about that while I was getting ready. I said, man, there's always somebody that fucks up the whole crew. But those guys, including Austin Lane, everyone throws in Austin. And Deli Dale, I've never seen you guys after you got to where you was learning. I really didn't see you in, quote unquote bad matches. They were different. Some of them were different than what I would have told y'all to do, but they weren't really bad matches. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I want to hear about Idlebane, the birth of Idlebane.
Okay.
And how we're going to talk about how Idlebane got his name changed. So the way he spelled it.
The way he spelled it? Okay, I got you. I know what you're talking about.
All right, going to commercial break. All right, we're back from commercial. If you were watching this on video, you didn't have a commercial break. If you're listening to it on the main feed, we're back from commercial. We're going to talk about Idlebane. So where did you get the name? So that was that your first wrestling name? Because that's how I knew you.
No, it was technically my second one.
I want to hear the first one then. Here we go.
So, Reggie Montgomery, right?
Yeah.
Reggie was real good friends with Rick Grizzly. And Reggie was training a partner, and his name was going to be Johnny Thunder. And they already got the airbrush gear and all that stuff. There's a vest and everything. And that gear was my present from grizzly to get into the business. I got the boots and the knee pads and stuff, and he gave me the singlet and stuff. And so for about 3 months, I wrestled as Johnny Thunder. And
that Johnny Thunder boy.
Came out to
Good God.
Thunderstruck.
Reggie Montgomery, he hates me. We'll have to talk about that on Patreon.
Okay.
Just the Idlebane name. So tell me, how did we come up with the Idlebane? And then what was the gimmick? I mean, what was coming in your mind at Idlebane? And then like you slowly started wearing different gear, and y'all all become LSD and all. Start talking about the first Idlebane. Where did we get that name at?
So the Idlebane name, it was basically, I was just looking for something that was, I'm musically, I'm an anti-pop person. Oh God, what's going on? Sorry, I have to move this keyboard occasionally, but I'm an anti-pop music person per se, So, and I was an 18, 19-year-old kid looking
sure.
rebellious edge. So
yeah,
I wanted something that was, anti-pop and as little about celebrating your heroes as possible. So, buddy, the guy I was living with at the time, he came up with some stuff, and he's like, there's some Greek words. It's like, idle and bane, it means destroyer of heroes. And I was like, that's freaking perfect. I'm Idlebane now. Let's go.
Love it. Yeah, I never knew that. That's something that I didn't know where, but when I started doing the website, you were I think you were working Paraguay at the time on a regular basis. Yeah. And I started spelling your name Idle. This was a complete name, Idlebane together.
Yeah.
No big B. But I started doing big I space big B. You had two names, Idlebane. So what did you just want to yell at me and say, what the fuck are you doing?
Occasionally I was like, what are you doing? I wish it was one word. And then whenever I started working Rector over there, he was like, no. Your first name's Idle, your last name's Bane. That's it. Quit. And I was like, I argued with him a lot, but it was over after that point. So.
I loved it because I did it, and you was like, you told me one time after all it happened, that was just one name. And then when I would see it on posters, I would like pat myself on the back and say, man, you really fucked that up. But yeah. So I just, but I always liked the name. I like the gear and all that. And talk to me about forming LSD and what it's a drug reference. Everyone knows that, duh. But what was the basis of that, or give me the origin story of LSD, and everyone in the Memphis area will know about this.
Okay, yeah. So Dell and I started back in early 2000s, I think, tagging together, and we started calling ourselves the Psychopaths. We're huge ICP fans and all that good stuff. So we were doing that, doing more the crazy clown type gimmick to a point. And, that sort of fizzled. And when we went into WFAC, Cody had started wrestling, and him and Dale joined up, and we're doing New Breed with Austin was in there, and there was a couple other guys in and out with them. But I was still there, and me and Cody and Dale were traveling to shows because we all lived within 10 minutes of each other for all these years. And so it was like we were always together. And then when WFAC sort of slowed down for a minute, we were going to Batesville, and at that point it was Timmy Hansen and Gravedigger was technically the booker, but Timmy was there too. And
Timmy was a hard fucking worker too.
Yeah, he was. I learned a lot from Timmy too, for sure. How I hit the ropes is thanks to Timmy Hansen, because it's the safest way I could do it. Yeah, and then they were like, let's put y'all back together. Let's start some stuff. And we started doing it. We wanted to do the clown paint and the different stuff. And I think that's right around the time I introduced my first version of the war skirt, all that. And
Love that. Yeah.
And then we sort of messed around in Batesville a little bit, and it sort of spilled over when WFAC in Newport came back alive for a minute. But then when we went to Buster's, that's when it really blew up and started becoming a thing. And then we took it everywhere. It was basically on the road after that. Anybody who wanted to book crazy people. Right.
Yeah. And it was, y'all were the area group, and they you had a date almost every weekend doing that.
I
Buster,
mean,
who's
you were
Buster?
talking 5 years of
Buster
doing
Johnson.
Buster Johnson, yeah,
Okay,
Hellraiser.
yeah, I know Buster. Yeah,
He was running that Paragle show there.
that's who was running that.
Right.
Yeah.
Him and Sam, I guess, but mostly Buster. So
Yeah. That was that show had always had a lot of you guys from the area on it, and it did really well. Then it just absolutely died, and I have no explanation for that because I wasn't following it that well. But I was at a couple of shows just to watch it. It was fun. So then you shout out, me and you got mutual friends because of the wrestling business. Shout out to Stacy and Scotty. How's that? Stacy and Scotty. Shout out.
Right.
Let's talk about Scotty for a minute. You're not going to believe this, but I cannot remember his wrestling name. What was? I know it. I cannot. So he
was Big Vic Vicious.
Vic Vicious. There we go. Yes. How did you and him and Randy? Randy was a local manager. He's not with us anymore. So shout out to Randy. How's that? Randy and y'all all got together as a group because you kind of got away from LSD and Deadly Dale is retired until tomorrow or something. He always comes out of retirement. But how did you guys, because me and Scotty exchanged, and Scotty, I'm not kayfabing nothing on it, but we exchanged a lot of emails and messages on as he was wrestling and getting started and all that. And we talked to, he would send me matches and just say, tear it apart. Tell me exactly what I did wrong, what I did right, kind of thing. A lot of you guys did that, but Scotty was one of those guys that was really, he wasn't that good, but then he just got real good. His psychology was there. Every move looked good. You would want him, if you were doing a local show and you was putting it together, he would be one of the guys that you would want to put on the show because he's going to be a hard worker. He's going to help you advertise, blah, blah, blah. You can't say a bad thing about Scotty being on the show. But how did you three guys become big buddies, big pals, and then started with Randy? Randy was your manager, and what was that called?
Well, we were MVC. It was the
MVC, yeah.
Yeah, we stole from Dr. Death and Terry Gordy, but it was the Miracle Violence Corporation, I think what we were. They were the company. But,
right.
So, Scotty and Randy were buddies for forever, since Scotty came back to Paragle, because he trained in South Carolina. God, and I'm going to forget this guy's name, and I shouldn't, but he was the guy that trained him. He's going to chew my ass because I don't remember him, but he was an enhancement guy for Crockett and all that good stuff. He was a pretty good talent in his own right. But
we'll have to bring Scotty on sometimes. How's that?
He'll tell all his story. But yeah, so when he came back to Paragle, he joined up with Adrian Stratton, and they started tagging. And he had met Randy through mutual friends somehow, and they became big buddies. So those two, that group became a thing, and I guess they all went to ASWF, Scotty and Adrian and stuff, and Adrian was taking a break for whatever reason, and Ray and Scotty became friends. Ray, and then Mike Anthony got joined in that group, and I joined in whenever they moved over to the Jonesboro MACW shows about 7-8 years ago, and after that, Ray had his back injury, so he was sort of out, and then Mike is always going to go do his stuff, and can't blame him either. I'm not
right. Yeah.
So it ended up being me, Scotty, and Randy, and we got along just swimmingly, all three of us, and it's time to go to work and continue doing what we need to do, make everybody look good. So we started taking bookings, going across the river a lot.
That Ray is one of those guys too that in this area that I watched a match with him just recently, and I was just still kind of in awe of him because he never got out of the area. He's one of those guys that probably at one point when they were doing all the junior heavyweights and all of that, if he'd had a connection, they would have liked him. He's always been so solid, but I forget how good he is. He's really good. He doesn't make mistakes, and I have a hard problem if I don't see somebody making mistakes. I'm just like, eh. But really, that's a good thing that they're a good professional. But you had a solid crew there. Y'all did shows all over the area. Do you feel like it's better for you? I mean, you have wrestled as a singles wrestler. You did a run. You mentioned Rector. You did a run in Rector as a singles wrestler, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then is that where you came up with the? I'm going off a subject here, but you came up with the name of your pile driver, and you tell everyone what that is.
My pile driver, the Cradle pile driver.
Yeah,
I dubbed it the Ghost of Andy Kaufman.
oh, I love it.
Watch BT mark out over that.
Yes.
But, no, for whatever reason that happened in Newport just before LAW and stuff, and I want to say it was Scott Fury's idea that came up with it, and then we ran with it, and man, it got over. I had to say it every time before I did the pile driver. I wanted everybody to know what the hell that thing was called, and everybody did everywhere I wrestled. So I could stop and go like this and look at them, and they were already starting to react before I could start saying it. So
yeah. I love Director. That's something I said in one of the reports that there's still guys that reach out to me that work Director said you called it a wrestler's haven.
Yep.
And that's what it was. You had Flash Flanagan, you had all these people come. They were workers. That's all it was just hardworking, fun. Some of the booking was, but I really had a great time every time we went over there. It was fun. And did Scotty do anything over there? Because I don't remember him until.
No, he didn't really start till after that. Back in
Adrian, yeah, Adrian, somebody else. I knew Adrian when he was a kid. He reached out to me. I think it was on a Yahoo Messenger one time, and I knew his dad. So he was just like, my dad was blah blah blah, and I was like, okay, but he wanted to be a wrestler from day one too. So he was one of those guys that understood it. So tell me something before we get into the Memphis stuff.
Sure.
And that's what we come to talk about. When do you think, because you did tag teams, and I was the tag team man, and watched every come home, watch my matches from the guys. I watched matches from New Japan. I watched matches from this place. I would get on a kick where I would watch only Stone Cold and somebody as a tag team to see get on another kick, just the Midnight Express. When did you start saying, okay, because it takes a while. Some people don't ever get it, as we talked about earlier. But I remember I took my guys for a ECW tryout, and Nova, Mike Bucci, said it takes about 5 years before you really kick in and you start understanding psychology. So when did that start kicking in? Because all you guys know how to do it now. When did you start? Yeah, when did you start learning that?
That's 4 or 5 years in. That's about right. And this is 110 shows a year because we had 2 shows a week every week for several years. I probably had 10 years of 100 plus shows. So my back feels it today, but no, it was a good time. Yeah, about 4 or 5 years in is when it really started to, hey, that makes sense. And then
we're supposed to get the babyface supposed to get the shine, and then we're going to start some heat, and then we may do a double heat. But most of the time, it's all the same thing, but it's just the way you do it, and it's all done a little different every time. I called that. It's a WWE style is what it is, and I'm not until they get to a certain point and they start. I can book you a match until you start going from like into the finish, into the last 3 minutes, all the near falls and all that crap, and I just get lost. I just say, okay, here's the finish. You work up to the finish, and here's what I want before. And then I used to do the finish for my people and let them do the rest of the match, or I would do the start with the old do-si-do. That was one of my favorite spots. Was do-si-do. So you took a break from wrestling and did all kinds of shoot stuff. and just said, was it because of you just being hurt, or was it just you just needed to rest for a while, or and everyone comes back. I call myself getting away from the wrestling business for a couple of years also, and then coming right back to the podcast because it's something. When I was going to do Shooting the Shiznit, I thought I'm going to invite people like my old school teachers and all that. That's what I was going to do with it. Then I said, why? I know all these wrestlers. Let's have them on the show, kind of thing. So you took a break, and how long were you gone? You was gone for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I will see. It's almost 5 years at this point. I've been back for 6-7 months now, but not doing a whole lot. But I've been back and around it for about a year. I guess when MACW and ASWS started back up in Tuckerman last February, I was there, but I've wrestled 7-8 times since then. But no, man, I was 19, 20 years in. All these shows that I took, and a lot of the time taking unnecessary bumps, and especially for my size and whatnot, and my back and neck were giving me issues, and I needed a break for a while, and then so I started taking a break. I was just going to take the summer off was my original plan, and then Nine Fingers happened here, and
now a shark bit that off, right?
That's right. A shark bit that off. We're saving a busload of kids and 2 dogs, dude.
I cannot believe you said that on TV. I was dying when Bradley said it. Great. Well, yeah, he did say it. Look, we record this a different time, and I watch wrestling a different time. But he did say it this past Saturday. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
So, what did happen? Tell the shoot story on this.
So the shoot story is, me and Scotty and his wife and my kid and dog and whatnot. We were on my parents' pontoon. They were out of town, and they're like, "Yeah, y'all go enjoy the river cabin and blah blah blah." So we've been up all, on the river all day, and we were coming down, and I was showing them this little beach club down there. I'd spent most of my life on, most of my summers and stuff. And we got stuck in, so now I found out it's the rope from an old swimming area, but it was tied to a tree. So I was like, all right. So I killed the motor, and I was going to climb out and go see what's going on, see if I can untangle this, because we were in, waist deep water or something. It wasn't too deep, but so pontoon, it's got this little railing. Well, as I sat down and I was going to climb in because there was a big tree attached to this rope and stuff. So as I sat down, I had my hand here, and my finger went between the door and the railing, and as my near 300-pound ass jumped off the boat, well, my finger stayed. So
shit.
I come out of the water, and I got this face, or look on my face of, oh crap, what's going on? Scotty's on the boat, says, "You all right?" I said, "No, I think I lost my fucking finger." He said, "Bullshit." So I'm looking him.
Did you just say finger? Did you say finger?
Finger. Yeah, probably. So I pulled the thing up, look at his face, and he goes, "Oh shit!" And
oh my god,
it was over at that point. So I lost it down to here, 2 knuckles.
Right? Tell me what happened? Did y'all grab a towel, or what did y'all do? I know y'all went to the ER right then, but did you try to save the finger?
Yeah, we had coolers and stuff. So, and even had bags. So he bagged it up, and it was on ice and stuff. But we were 10 miles north of Pocahontas, Arkansas.
Yeah.
You know where that is? It's about an hour in an ambulance trip once they picked me up.
Oh, wow.
It took them 15, 20 minutes to get there. So by the time they got there, and with the fact that I'd been in the river and inspection and all that stuff, they weren't able to put it back on. And so you said,
what the hell? I'm just going to make it my gimmick. So why not? Yeah.
I mean, it messed with me really bad for a number of years. And I made as many jokes as I could about it because, might as well laugh about it instead of fucking being depressed about it all the time. And here it is. And my kid has roasted me about it more than anybody on this earth, I swear.
That's what here I was, I'm a fat and blind as a kid, 18 years old, and I start losing my hair. So that's what I've always done. I made bald jokes ever since then. You got to do that, or you sit there and go, "Oh my God, I'm 19 years old. And I'm completely bald." But there's all kinds of studies about people that lose finger, the leg, and all that kind of stuff where it's like a phantom. Did you ever feel like you thought your finger was back?
Oh yeah, every day still.
Oh really? Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Like
Wow.
I'm moving it's sort of bring it down to what feels like about there, and it really feels like somebody's just squeezing it at all times.
Oh,
the first few weeks after it happened, like I would wake up screaming in pain because it felt like my finger had been bit completely backwards. It itches, every couple days. It's still there. It's just invisible. It's like John Cena. You can't see it.
I love it that you got a glove on it on TV. So let's talk about Memphis Wrestling. You show up on Memphis Wrestling, and how long have you known? Now, Bradley was. I made a joke a couple of weeks ago in rolling into Mempho, and I don't think many people got it. But Matt Williams was wearing a Lethal Injection shirt. Was that their name? Yeah, he was wearing which was a Skimmerhorn shirt, by the way, folks. So. How did you meet those guys? You did help train them, right?
I didn't help train them per se. They got trained by Kid Dynamite, Jonathan Sanders, and Craig Stone, and some of those guys. A little bit in the Hoxie, OCW.
Shout out to Craig Stone, by the way.
Boss man. But then they went and worked for Sarge and stuff. And then when they came back from working over in Tennessee so much, they came to ASWF, and I was there, and I think I was just helping run a show that night or something, and they were running late because they were double shotting from Hoxie in, and I got on the phone and yelled at them. It's like, get your ass here, blah, blah, blah. We're up next, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then like a couple weeks later, I think Jason the Brain did his benefit show, the Ashley McClure thing in Union City. And it turned out me and the boys were both booked on it. And I was like, hey, I lived in Pocahontas, I think, at the time, and they lived in Hoxie. And I was like, hey, kids, can I ride with y'all up to Union City? And they're like, yeah, come on. So we met up in Walnut Ridge at the Walmart, and I got in their car, and we've been taking road trips ever since, really, except for my time off.
First time I saw them, they were doing a show downtown in Jonesboro during the – I don't know, Main Street something or whatever. I don't really go. But yeah. And they were doing, I was like, man, those guys are, they're solid, because I liked them. They were doing all the flippity floppity shit, and that was what I was digging at. But these guys turned into, I want to tell you, Brad's really got good since Memphis Wrestling. Now he even looked kind of green when he started. He shouldn't, but he did. But he's had so many matches and it's almost like he has learned how to do TV matches. You notice that? He
really has.
Yeah.
He's helping me learn how to do TV matches.
That's what I was going to ask you. With Brad, he went from being, it felt like he was apprehensive. He was scared to do something to I'm so relaxed. I'm only going to do what I have to do. We're right here for 7 minutes. We got to do it. And he's become that. He's a comedy guy, but he is also will do anything. By the way, he got his head shaved. Do anything for the show. Were those two boys always like that, where they would do anything?
Yes, absolutely. Brad was always the one. He was going to tell you that, hey, I'm going to be the next AJ Styles. I'm going to be this. I'm going to do this. We're going to do this. And Briar's like, yeah. And then he would go do whatever the hell you ask him to do. And I've always told them this because I love to bust Brad's balls, but Briar is the pure technical worker out of those two. And then just from the start, Briar was far superior.
Yeah.
And then Brad's a good freaking worker, always has been, but his personality is what's going to get him over.
His personality and his bumping. He knows when to bump, exactly when to bump, and it looks good when he bumps.
That match he had in Arizona a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you've got a chance to see it. There's a thing.
No, I haven't. I haven't had a chance.
Worked a gentleman named R3 at at Party Hard Wrestling. And I mean, this guy's like 6'3", 6'4", 350 pounds. He's a big dude, and he's throwing him around. And Brad looks like $1 million in that match. The whole
right. I'll have to go out of my way to see that. So tell me, when did you get the call? You're kind of retired. You're not doing a lot. You get the call to be Uncle Phil, which Phil's your shoot name. And then we got Uncle Mikey. We've already heard that story. Dustin told that story, and I think Brad told it too. Was Mikey was there? Let's have a new character as Uncle Mikey. And then with Briar being ill, they kind of like him to be part of a team, and then they call in Uncle Phil. What was the conversation like? Who did you talk to about it, and how did it all come about?
So Brad was doing most of the talking to Dustin for me. But Mikey was wanting to go singles because he needs to be a babyface and he needs to do Mikey stuff because he is so freaking good at that stuff.
Yeah.
Golly, he knows how to put a match together. It's amazing. He knows how to get over too. It's just his connection to any crowd he's in front of is phenomenal. You know, that dude, he gets it.
Oh, it is, especially in that building, that Mikey chant, and it was organic too. You weren't actually with Memphis Wrestling at the time, but when he turned it, and you probably was watching the show, but when he turned it, it was almost like we gotta turn him because everybody likes him. So
but Brad was needing something else. They were wanting to split up. It made sense to give Brad a heater. You know, I'm 6'5"-ish, almost 300 pounds. I can do some heavy stuff, and I can get over a little bit. So Brad knows me and is comfortable with me. So it's
right.
This is a natural fit. Let's go. And whenever I lost a finger and was already taking things off, I wanted to really put Idle Bane away. I didn't want to be the skirt wearing freak anymore. I wanted to reinvent myself a little bit. I'm not a 20 or 30 year old guy anymore. I'm this 40 something year old man that's trying to do something a little different from me, and so the thing to do Uncle Phil was that was cool. It was handed to me in a silver platter. It was just, all right, I got a gimmick. Yeah, I don't have to be Idle Bane here, and here we go.
How many damn skim of horns is there out there is what I want to know. Jesus Christ.
Between the boys, the two uncles, and their cousin Luke, I mean, there's several of us. And Papa Skimmerhorn, don't forget about him. But
oh man, it's crazy how that just, you get that's what happens when you have people stay a little bit longer than 6 weeks or something. Then you're able to build. Brad and Mikey, they have not got stale at all, and that's saying a lot for somebody that's been in the same TV show for 2 years. So how, there's been all kinds of discussions about, so-and-so's not part of this show, this Memphis Wrestling incarnation, and it's not this show, it's not that show, it's not really Memphis Wrestling, is what some people say. But did you feel that you did finally get on Memphis TV? How exciting was that for you?
I mean, I don't want to mark out too much, but fucking.
Oh, it's okay. I marked out too with my face appeared on there. So there you go.
I grew up in Pocahontas, Arkansas. I was watching Lawler and Dundee since I was a little kid too, picking it up on the antenna. So being on Memphis Wrestling once I, got into the business was always sort of a thing of mine. I never really wanted to be in WWE, but Memphis Wrestling, and I wanted to work for the NWA. And I got that NWA a couple different times, but whatever it was later on down the road.
It's still, it
had the initials. Come on now, but walking into Memphis and oh god, the setup that Dustin and them have at the Wrestle Center, and I don't want to just say Dustin because I know Dustin's the guy out there and he is the guy, but there's Chris and Simon and Austin's on that. Now Terrence Ward. Those guys they have
Neil Taylor. I always like to put Neil Taylor over.
Yeah, you can't forget Neil. But those guys, they have a really good thing going, and. You mentioned this just briefly, and I'm not going to get into it too much, but all the bullshit from the other promotion, just trying to drag up crap is just unnecessary. I wish
No, you got and he Dustin's done what what he should have done, and what we have to do sometimes.
yeah,
In real life, we have to separate ourselves from in the industry that you work in.
yeah.
Uh, are the other places feuding with y'all? That's what I want to know. Are they wanting y'all to do horribly bad? It's just so weird that when you're in
Yeah,
the wrestling business now, I could see Coke against Pepsi. There's
sure.
a feud there,
Yeah,
but you also don't want their promotion to die. You don't. And I've seen that a lot. I used to see people all the time say, "I wish Impact Wrestling would just close up," and I'd
oh,
be like, "Dude, that gives how many guys
right.
opportunity? Look at the guys that stuck with Impact, and Impact's getting a surge right now. They're
Yes.
wrestling everywhere
Mm-hmm.
in the
Oh,
next
of course.
6 months. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I just hate that. I love it because y'all got somewhere to work. All of you guys didn't have the opportunity. And I talked about this with Brett when I brought Brett Michaels on the first time. He was one of those guys that I worked with. I didn't know the Skimmerhorns until then. Mike, I've known Mike since he started. Um, and the posse have been, Simon has been my friend for a long time.
Sure.
Chris, me and Chris, we talk and everything, but we haven't like, broke bread together or anything like that. But I think I've been so impressed with the smart part of Memphis wrestling. Like when the Corey Macklin version was all over the effing place. It really was. There was no rhyme or reason for everything.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've been told many times it has a lot to do with Chris and being able to say, okay, this makes sense for this week. And I know it, they tape 3 weeks and I don't know what week on tapings are on or blah, blah, blah. I used to try to keep up with it, but that's got to be, and Terrence Ward, and it's Dustin finding somebody for that job and being able to delegate it.
Absolutely.
And and for them to shine. And they have. You got the Neil Taylors, the Terrence Ward, and you've known Terrence since he started too.
Sure.
And it's the same thing with me. I provide content. People think you're working for Memphis. No, not really. I'm just providing content. He can use it or not use it. And but I was getting like more listens on their plays. That's what my guy told me to say, plays all the time. So I was getting more plays due to my videos on Memphis Wrestling, and then Dustin had to stop. He got too much going on. He can't make videos, so I had to stop what I was doing and teach myself how to make videos. So it's that's made it, and there's just so many spokes in that wheel up there that makes everything go. And now with it like that, you walked in a situation that was professional, right? And that's not always the case here in this area.
I don't know how many barns or old diesel shops I've wrestled in, and
Right.
then we run into, and it's still just a building, but God, they've made that thing a professional wrestling studio. And anybody that walks in there with any kind of experience, I heard Jerry Lynn say it a couple weeks ago. Ellsworth said it. 100 other guys, names, or whatever you want to call them. They walk into that building and they're like, "Y'all are so lucky to have this." And I really, man, I'm not trying to be the next big Memphis star or nothing. I'm going to be a role player and I'm going to try to help some of these kids. And that seems to be
That's
my
what
goal.
you told me. You told me on Facebook message. We were talking just a little bit, and you said, because I always reach out to you after one of your matches, and I said, you said, "Man, I'm just loving the role that I'm playing. I'm having a good time," and that's, people don't understand it. There's until you're having a good time doing this, you just want to quit almost every weekend because there's somebody being an asshole to you.
Yes.
And that's awesome. I'm glad, that there is a place for that. I hope in 5 years we're all sitting around talking about Memphis Wrestling still on television. I'm doing the stupid rolling into Memphis at 61 years old, but I'll do it. Damn it, I'll do it. All right, man, we're gonna wrap it up here. I've got a couple of things I want to talk to you about on Patreon. Y'all go subscribe. We'll be here. Go ahead.
Hey, this is going to drop on May 17th, right?
It will drop on. Let me make sure. No, I changed it. It is going to drop on May the 16th.
Okay. Well, May 17th is what I thought is my kid's 9th birthday. So,
wow.
Happy early birthday to my boy Asher Ray. And
you want to put something over? Put a Twitter off over or something. What do you want to put over?
Golly, do I have Twitter? Philip Dickler on Facebook is where I'm at. I'm not doing a whole lot on social just now. Hashtag 9 fingers, man. Put that in. You go. Find all my stuff. I tag it with everything.
And if you want to buy a car,
come see me. Automax
come see me. Or in Jonesboro, yeah.
Yes,
all right, guys. Same bad time, same bad channel on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. And as everyone knows, Phil, you know this. I love my mama.
He does.
Remember, all episodes, Memphis in May. Go to STSPOD.club.